Well folks, buckle up. Trump's back in the political arena, and as always, he's not exactly whispering sweet nothings. In a speech that could have rivaled the Lord of the Rings trilogy for sheer length, clocking in at a bladder-bursting 99 minutes, the former president graced Congress with his presence and his, shall we say, unique brand of politics. This wasn't just a speech, it was a declaration, a restaking of his claim on the American narrative. And like a reality TV season finale, it was packed with enough drama, intrigue, and plot twists to make your head spin. From the economy to immigration, from the battlefields of Ukraine to the lingering shadows of the Kabul airport bombing, Trump left no stone unturned, no policy untouched by his signature blend of bravado and bluster. And let's be clear, this wasn't just a retrospective on the past, this was a blueprint for the future, a Trumpian vision of America painted in broad strokes and bold promises. Whether those promises will materialize or evaporate like a mirage in the desert, well, that's a question for another day, folks. For now, let's dive into the meat of this political smorgasbord, shall we? Now let's talk money, shall we? Because if there's one thing Trump loves more than himself, it's the sweet, sweet smell of a tax cut. And boy, did he deliver on that front. Lower taxes for everyone. Because apparently trickle-down economics is back in vogue like shoulder pads and leg warmers. But it wasn't all sunshine and roses in Trump's economic garden. Oh no, there were thorns aplenty, particularly when it came to that old chestnut immigration. According to Trump, the American economy is being bled dry by those pesky immigrants, sneaking across the border and stealing all the good jobs. Never mind that economists have debunked this myth more times than Trump has tweeted conspiracy theories. Facts are like kryptonite to this guy, they simply don't stick. No, according to Trump, the solution is simple. More border crackdowns, more deportations, and of course his piece de resistance, that big beautiful wall he's still so fond of. So, there you have it, the Trumpian economic plan in a nutshell. Tax cuts for the wealthy, crackdowns on immigrants, and a whole lot of wishful thinking. Whether it'll actually work? Well, that's about as likely as Trump admitting he lost the 2020 election. If Trump's economic policies were a mixed bag of tricks, his stance on immigration was about as subtle as a sledgehammer to the face. This was Trump at his most Trumpian, folks, painting a picture of America under siege, overrun by hordes of undocumented immigrants hell-bent on stealing our jobs, our resources, and our very way of life. The solution? Why, it's simple, really. Just build more walls, deport anyone who looks even remotely suspicious, and slap tariffs on our closest trading partners like there's no tomorrow. Because nothing screams economic stability like a good old-fashioned trade war, right? Forget about the fact that immigration has been shown time and time again to be a net positive for the economy. Forget about the countless studies debunking the myth of the job-stealing immigrant. In Trump's world, facts are malleable, statistics are for suckers, and the only thing that matters is stoking the flames of fear and resentment for his own political gain. It's a strategy as old as time itself, and sadly, just as effective as ever. Section 4. Shifting Sands of Foreign Policy, from Ukraine to Kabul. Hold on to your hats, folks, because we're about to take a wild ride through the tangled jungle of Trump's foreign policy pronouncements. First stop, Ukraine. Remember that whole democracy thing we used to care about? Yeah, well, apparently it's not so important anymore. According to Trump, we should be cozying up to Putin, not arming the Ukrainians. After all, who needs pesky things like freedom and self-determination when you can have a nice, stable dictatorship, right? And while we're on the subject of foreign policy blunders, let's not forget about Afghanistan. Remember that whole chaotic withdrawal debacle? Yeah, well, according to Trump, it was a resounding success. Sure, there may have been a few minor hiccups along the way, like the Taliban taking over the country and all those desperate Afghans clinging to departing planes. But hey, at least we're not bogged down in that quagmire anymore, right? Section 5. A chorus of dissent Democrats push back against Trump's vision. Now, you didn't think the Democrats were just going to sit there and take this torrent of Trumpian pronouncements lying down, did you? Oh no, my friends. While Trump was busy bloviating on stage, the Democrats were busy plotting their resistance. Their faces a study in barely contained fury. They booed, they hissed, they waved signs that could have doubled as protest banners at a particularly feisty environmental rally. And when all else failed, they did what any self-respecting politician would do, they resorted to good old-fashioned heckling. Al Green, bless his soul, even went so far as to get himself ejected from the chamber for his troubles. Because nothing says I vehemently disagree with your policies like getting forcibly removed from the building. But beyond the theatrics, there was a palpable sense of anger and frustration emanating from the Democratic side of the aisle. They'd seen this show before and they knew exactly where it was headed, down the rabbit hole of division, disinformation, and Democratic backsliding. Section 6. Red wave of approval, Republicans rally behind their leader. If the Democrats were the embodiment of dissent, the Republicans were a sea of nodding heads and enthusiastic applause. They cheered every Trumpian utterance, every policy pronouncement, every thinly veiled attack on the Democrats. It was like watching a revival of a particularly fervent megachurch service, with Trump as the charismatic preacher and the Republicans as his devoted flock. USA! USA! They chanted, their voices echoing through the chamber, a chorus of unwavering support for their embattled leader. They were all in on the Trump train, baby, and they weren't getting off anytime soon, no matter how bumpy the ride got. This was their moment, their chance to bask in the reflected glory of their returning champion. And they weren't about to let a little thing like facts or logic get in the way of a good old-fashioned political rally. Section 7. The road ahead, a tumultuous path to implementation. So there you have it, folks. Trump's back, baby, and he's not going anywhere anytime soon. Whether you love him or hate him, there's no denying that he's a force to be reckoned with, a political disruptor who's rewritten the rules of the game. But now comes the hard part, actually implementing his grandiose vision for America. And that's where things get a little, shall we say, complicated. Because while Trump may be a master of the political stage, governing is a whole different ballgame. He'll face opposition from Democrats, resistance from within his own party, and the ever-present scrutiny of the media. And let's not forget about those pesky things called facts and logic, which have a nasty habit of getting in the way of even the most well-intentioned political plans. So buckle up, America, it's going to be a bumpy ride.